is 5 o'clock. We will go ahead and begin this meeting of the Kokomo City Board of Zoning Appeals. I would ask that if you have a cell phone to be sure to silence that before we get started. And I invite everyone to stand and join us as we start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to thank the full board for being here this evening. Our first item on the agenda this evening is case P10-V-22.
You need the approval of minutes first,
Oh,
Mr.
just
President.
kidding. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the meeting held Tuesday, May 3rd of 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our second item on the agenda is our first case this evening, case P10-V-22.
Yes, petition of Alex Beatty, MIRA Development Group, requesting a variance of 20 foot to section 3.32, maximum structure height in a C2 zone. This is at 246 Pipeline Way.
I have a motion on this case.
I move that we approve case number P10-V-22 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
Thank you both. Have any board members had any ex parte communication regarding this case?
None, sir.
Okay, thank you. Would the petitioner representing this case please step to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and then tell us what's happening.
Thank you. My name is for the record, Alex Beatty. My address is 900 East Main Street in Louisville, Kentucky. A little bit about this. We're from Mirror Development Company. We're hotel developers primarily here in the Midwest, doing work central Indiana, Indianapolis area, Kokomo. I think we actually have the courtyard down maybe on the other side of the street from where this is. And then we do some work in Ohio as well. This variance is for Spring Hill Suites that we're working with Marriott on right now. And just due to the way their architecture is, their standards require a parapet and then an elevated parapet right in the middle. So when you walk at the hotel where the sliding doors would be, it's a little higher than the rest of it. We looked at the heights, found it was going to be over the 45. That's in the zoning for the C2, and as a result, decided we probably should come and see what we could do about getting a little bit of extra height just to make Marriott happy. The one notable thing, just because I know the zoning ordinance allows for certain roof mechanical items to be a little higher, we're expecting the flat part of the roof to be around 55 feet, so it's really just thinking about that decorative part that pushes up. Well, we would need the 10 feet of extra clearance to make the building work, because that's what the standard was, but just trying to think through making sure we have a little wiggle room for that decorative piece.
And that parapet's also going to hide the mechanicals, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that middle parapet even hides the elevator, which is going to be a little taller than some of the roof mechanicals that'll be hidden by a little lower parapet.
So the rendering we have here, which direction are?
That's the approach from the south. So if you pull on to Pipeline Way, I think you pass the Ashley Furniture on your south, and when you start to go up, because I think it curves up north, that's the view you would see.
Okay.
So the front of the hotel is going to be facing the south?
Correct. Just trying to think through how you get there and make it appealing.
Thank you. Okay, any questions at this point from the board? Okay, Mr. Beatty, do you have a copy of your findings of fact you can read for us, please?
I do. Wishing I wrote shorter ones now. Should we read them?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, if you would read those, please.
So number one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, because the requested height variance will allow additional hotel rooms to be provided to the city of Kokomo and Howard County, provide additional tourism for local restaurants and other businesses, and not materially increase the need for additional public services. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, because the additional hotel rooms permitted by the increased height variance will increase the number of individuals patronizing the adjacent commercial properties, thereby increasing their value. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. Because while the zoning ordinance permits a hotel use on the property, the size and shape, it should be size and shape of the site materially impairs the ability to construct a hotel while also complying with the laws and regulations governing stormwater, drainage, minimum parking count, landscaping, and the like.
Thank you. Mr. Sheeline, would you mind reading the staff findings, please?
Staff findings for case 510-B-22, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The requested variance will not create any safety hazard or block visions. The variance will not allow the petitioner to impede on any property lines or easements. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting the variance will allow the petitioner to infill a currently vacant lot with a new modern hotel, which will positively impact the surrounding community. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is not granted, the petitioners will be forced to alter their created plans for the site, and the owner will be unable to fully utilize the lot as desired. The proposed height variance allows the petitioner to add a fourth floor to the structure, making it economically feasible.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions from the board at this point? Are there any questions from anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case?
Are you aware there's not a water main from there?
Ma'am, if you'd step forward to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record, and have at it.
Dawn Beck, 906 Bluegrass Trail, Kokomo, Indiana, and I'm part of Indiana American Water.
Okay.
Now, my question is, are you aware there's not a water main in front of there?
Yeah, we're working with our civil engineers now, trying to figure out.
Okay, perfect. If you could just send me some plans.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to be heard? Okay, Mr. Beatty, anything you'd like to add?
That's it, thank you very much.
Okay, hearing no questions from the board at this point, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P10-V-22. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Our next case this evening is case P11-V-22.
Yes, petition of Trip Engineering and Consulting requested a variance of 75% to section 6.48E and variance of 64 spaces to section 6.48L in an LI zone. This is at 1624 East Jefferson Street.
Now I have a motion on this case.
I move that we approve case number P11-V-22 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, have any board members had any ex parte communication in this case? All right, thank you. Okay, if you'd like to step to the microphone, give us your name and address.
Tori Tripp, Tripp Engineering and Consulting, 401 South 2nd Street, Converse. This project's located at 1624 East Jefferson. It's an existing garage door place. The plan is it's going to be a building supply place, but they are going to tear down the existing building. So we're asking for two variances. One is to keep the parking as it is. Right now, it faces both 931 and Jefferson Street, and the owner wants to maintain that same flow that the site has. And the second has to do with the number of parking spots. This building supply place is mainly for contractors, and 99% of their business, they actually deliver to the job site, so the contractors aren't actually there. They have a showroom. The building will be a 30,000 square foot building, and of that, 46,000 square feet is a showroom, and then the rest is all warehouse. So any customer or contractor that comes in will only be in the showroom area. So they're asking for the reduction in the number of parking spots.
You said the showroom is 4,000,
Yeah, 4,600 square feet.
46.
Just so everyone knows, this is a variance that is a little strange. It has to be asked for because of the way our parking ordinance is worded in the zoning ordinance. As Ms. Tripp said, this is mainly for contractors to come and buy their purchases. Most of that will be delivered to the site where they're working, so they don't need, if I remember correctly, our ordinance said for the size, they needed 100 spaces, and they have 36, which is going to be more than enough for what they want to do, but the way our ordinance is written, they had to ask for the variance, so that's why they're before you tonight for the variance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you want to go ahead and read your findings of fact?
Yes. The approval will not be injurious to the public safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The site borders two roadways, Jefferson Street and US 931. Per the ordinance, no more than 25% of parking shall be in the front of the primary structure that faces a roadway. This is an existing developed site, and the current site is set up with parking facing both roadways. The owner desires to keep this configuration as it will allow the site to function best. We are also asking for a reduction in the number of parking spaces. The customers will most likely be contractors, not the general public. 99% of their sales will include delivery to the job site. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in all variances will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The adjacent properties will see no adverse change as parking will remain as is, and with the business being mostly contractors, the number of parking will be minimal. Number three, the strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation should not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. In order to meet ordinance requirements, the existing site would need to be reconfigured to move most of the existing parking to the west or to the rear of the property. The site will be a building supply warehouse that receives shipments and makes numerous deliveries. Parking being placed in the rear would interfere with loading and unloading of trucks and create hazards between customers and trucks. The number of parking spots would interfere with the movement of the trucks throughout the site.
All right. Thank you. Any questions from the board at this time? Mr. Sheeline, would you mind reading the staff findings, please?
Staff findings for case P11-B-22. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The requested variance will not create any safety hazards or impede on any property lines or easements. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The requested variances for fewer parking spaces and to place parking in the front of the building will not have an impact on the adjacent properties or their uses. It is unlikely that the petitioner will need the amount of parking required as they work mainly with contractors for deliveries rather than carry out for the general public. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. As the property has two frontages, the petitioner faces a practical difficulty. If the variances are not granted, the petitioner will have to create a new plan for their parking lot and delivery area that are not consistent with their goals. I might also add, Mr. President, that if anyone on the board isn't aware, this is the old Geyer moving building. And not only does it have two road frontages, it also is in the wellhead overlay, which is put in place years ago to help protect the water supply in the city. And there are a lot of businesses that could not go into that facility because of the wellhead overlay. So this is one that can go into the business, go onto that lot, even with the wellhead overlay. So it's, this building's been empty for several years, so just wanted to pass that bit of information along.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board regarding this case? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to be heard regarding this case? Okay, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P11V-22 P11-V-22. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, congratulations. And our next case is case P08-V-22.
Yes, petition of Trip Engineering and Consulting requested a variance of 22 parking spaces to section 6.48 L, 6.48L parking in a C2 zone. This is at 2904 South Albright Road.
I have a motion on this case.
I move that we approve case number P08-V-22 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Thank you both.
I might just, again, add some information. If you all remember correctly, this case came before you last month. There was another variance for the lot coverage. We continued the case. Ms. Tripp worked with the petitioner, who cut off so much of a section of the building, so it took care of that variance. It was 4.73. It was 74.3% has to be under 70. They're at 69.5 or something like that now, so they are under the 70%. So I just want everybody to know that's why we're not doing the variance for that tonight. The only variance we're looking at is for the parking.
Okay, thank you. How many board members had any ex parte communication regarding the case P08-V-22? Okay, thank you. If you'd like to step to the mic again, and how about it?
Tori Tripp, Tripp Engineering Consulting, 401 South 2nd, Converse. This project is 3 storage units, and we are asking for a variance of no parking. They're not going to have a rental facility on site. Everything will be done online, and so therefore, that's why they're asking for the no parking.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, you want to go ahead and read your findings on this case?
Yes. Number 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public safety or public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Per the ordinance, the site will have 1 parking spot per 6 leasable units. This storage unit site will not have an on-site rental office. Rentals will be handled online. Therefore, any parking will be limited to the customer's storage unit for loading and unloading, and no additional parking will be necessary. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. The adjacent properties will see no change as parking will be confined to the customer's leasable units for loading and unloading. The runoff from the site will remain unchanged with the use of detention facilities located on the east and west ends of the property. Neighbors will see no change in their amount of runoff. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. The situation shall not be self-imposed nor based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. In order to meet the ordinance requirements, additional impervious area would needed to be added to accommodate the number of parking spots required.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this point from the board?
How many units are you going to have now?
The units, I don't remember, I didn't write down how many units he had per building, but the one building was cut down by 60 feet. So if I remember, I think the units were 10 by 10, so he lost 12 units. So it was, we had 132 originally, if I remember right, so he cut off 12, so we're down to 120.
Okay. The reason I asked this question, your variance for 22 parking places was based on the original number.
Right.
So actually, you don't need a variance for 22 because you have 12 less units.
Right. And my understanding is we can always ask for more, but not, or
You can ask for
less
not
than more, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Probably done more reading in the ordinance on this case than in a long time. I don't understand why it's I don't understand it's written the way it's written. First of all, I'm not going to vote no, and I'm for it. I've got to express what my frustrations were and what I don't understand. You continually say, and the planning commission continually makes the reference to, there's not going to be an office but nowhere in the variance has anything to do with an office in respect to the number of parking places.
That's correct.
It's the number of units.
It's the number of units, that's correct.
And the other thing in the ordinance that I don't understand, and I guess this is a great time for it. If you look on our worksheet, I don't have it in front of me, here we go. What is the definition of, from the ordinance? Loading areas may account for up to 1/4 of the requirement. So if the loading area would be in front of each storage unit, the number that was 22 could go down now, would actually, the variance would be for less parking, because you have to, all I'm looking for, long down the road, why you give a variance for 22 when 22 is higher than what you need, is what I'm trying to say. If
Well-
it doesn't make a difference to Mr. Sheeline, and if it doesn't make a difference to legal, I have a problem with it. But you see, the numbers that everything are based on started from the original number of storage units, so.
That's correct. And you're absolutely correct. And that is something that I'm actually getting ready to talk to TJ about here in the next 2 or 3 days. We are actually putting some changes to the zoning ordinance in place as we speak. That'll go before the Plan Commission and City Council. And we want to add something about storage facilities too, so this does not happen again, because there's no reason, in my opinion, to have to get a variance for parking for storage facilities when you're going to pull right up in front of your facility. That's the only place you're going to park.
I don't have a problem with your statement.
Yeah.
I'm
So
just-
we're going to do our best to take care of that in the very near future, so this sort of debacle doesn't happen again, okay?
Thank you.
Make sense to everybody? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner before we hear the staff findings? Mr. Sheeline?
Yeah, staff findings for case P08-B-22, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The variance requested will not cause injury in the surrounding community and will not allow the petitioner to encroach on any property lines or recorded easements. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The requested variance will have no impact on the surrounding properties and will be contained entirely on the subject property. Granting this variance will allow the petitioner to infill a currently vacant lot with a new and useful storage facility. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. Most customers will park in front of their unit, and additional parking would not be necessary. If the variance is not granted, the petitioner's created plans for the property will have to be changed.
Okay, thank you. All right, having heard the petitioner's findings, staff findings, any other questions? Anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P08-B-22. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, congratulations. Is there any other business to be brought before the BZA this evening?
I have no other business tonight, Mr. President.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you all.
Good evening.
Appreciate it.